just hit the subscribe button, the red button, underneath this video over to the right, and that'll sign you up on my YouTube channel. And then you can hit the small bell icon, so a little bell will go off and tell you each time I've started to broadcast a new one. I hope you enjoy it. Sometimes history can be downright fun, so I'd like to tell you the story about the first year of the Andrew Jackson presidency, and how it was paralyzed by a scandal over how Peggy Eaton, the wife of the Secretary of War, was being shunned by the other members of the cabinet and by the vice president's wife. Basically, there was a catfight between Mrs. John C. Calhoun, Floride Calhoun, a bitter, acerbic, nasty old lady, ugly to boot, and Peggy Eaton, the beautiful young wife of the Secretary of War, John Eaton. And Floride couldn't stand Peggy and said that Peggy was dragging Washington down in its moral standards, and criticized her and said she was flirting with other members of the cabinet and with other people in Washington, and maybe doing more than flirting, and that she was morally unfit to be in Washington. When Andrew Jackson heard about this, he was enraged. He liked Peggy, and in fact, he was increasingly asking Peggy to perform many of the duties as First Lady in the White House. Jackson was newly single because his wife, Rachel, who he beloved, had died shortly before he took office. Well, Floride wasn't going to stop going after Peggy just because Andrew Jackson said to. Instead, she got in touch with all the other wives of the cabinet, and she arranged for them all to boycott Peggy, not to talk to her, not to return her visits, to have no social intercourse with her. And that further enraged Jackson. Martin Van Buren at the time was the Secretary of State, and Van Buren was a very wily character who was always taking advantage of situations to ingratiate himself. So he proudly declared that he was going to defend the virtue of Margaret or Peggy Eaton, and he went out of his way to be solicitous and courteous to her, which earned him Andrew Jackson's respect and affection. When the treatment of Peggy by the cabinet members became absolutely impossible, Jackson fired everybody in his cabinet and moved Martin Van Buren in his second term into the role as vice president, getting rid of John C. Calhoun, all because of Peggy Eaton, all for the love of a girl. And Peggy Eaton, unfortunately, died penniless and a widow in Washington, but she occasioned quite some scandal in 1828. I've just written a new book, 50 Shades of Politics, which is unlike anything I've written before. It's a series of 100 short, 2 pages each, autobiographic essays and stories and vignettes and tales from my career in politics, my time with Clinton, my work in 40 countries around the world and in every state in the country. You can't buy it in bookstores, but you can online at Amazon.com. Thanks for watching.